The world often seems just, and our lives calm and certain. Yet there are moments when the wind turns into a storm, and everything we know crumbles before our eyes. This is the story of a man who faced the impossible, teaching us that even in the darkest shadows, the light of hope can emerge. Job lived in a land of abundance and peace, a man recognized for his integrity and pure heart. His possessions, his family, and his faith reflected divine care, a delicate balance that seemed eternal. But fate, like an invisible sculptor, began shaping his story in ways he could not foresee. The silence of the heavens and the whispers of the earth intertwine in this tale. A challenge approaches, testing not only wealth or comfort, but the very essence of faith. Job's life invites us to reflect. What truly defines us when everything we hold is taken away? And so, the journey begins. Between loss, questioning, and the struggle of the soul, every step Job takes resonates like an eternal echo. Resistance in the face of adversity is an art few truly know. His story is not just ancient, it is alive, carrying lessons that transcend time. Job was a man of peace, whose life seemed written in the hands of heaven. His lands flourished, and his family reflected the love he nurtured. Every dawn was a symphony of gratitude and harmony. His neighbors admired him, and even strangers recognized his justice and generosity. Everything he touched thrived, not merely by fortune, but by an essence that radiated integrity. The world around him seemed like a living painting of abundance. Yet even the calmest days carry subtle shadows. The fertile soil of his life would be tested, and the man who walked without fear would see his ground tremble. It is in the serenity before the storm that the human heart is truly revealed. And while Job celebrated each moment, unaware of the trial approaching, a silent question hung in the air. How far can human faith endure when everything is ripped from its grasp? Suddenly, like a thunderclap slicing the sky, Job's peace shatters. His possessions, earned through labor and faith, vanish in an instant, and the ground beneath him becomes unsteady. The life that once seemed secure reveals its fragility. The news comes in waves of sorrow. His servants, his wealth, even his animals, everything is taken or destroyed. The man who once knew abundance now faces the raw reality of loss. The silence of the heavens weighs heavier than any human cry. Even amid chaos, Job does not immediately succumb to despair. He lifts his eyes to the horizon, allowing his faith to speak before his pain. In that moment, we learn the first response to crisis defines the path of the soul. But the trials, like lengthening shadows, have only just begun. And as Job confronts devastation, an even deeper challenge approaches, testing not just his possessions, but the very core of his heart. When the final news arrives, Job feels a void words cannot fill. His sons and daughters, the laughter and joy of his life, are gone like leaves swept away by the wind. The heart that once overflowed with peace now bends under the weight of sorrow. The righteous man who always trusted in the order of the world sees the inexplicable unfold before his eyes. Questions without answers echo in his mind, and the silence of the heavens feels even deeper. Each tear becomes a reminder of life's fragility. Even amidst loss, Job remains steadfast, bowing in reverence to the one who governs all. His pain does not turn into immediate rage. There is space for reflection and silently for faith. In this moment we learn, facing grief requires courage beyond physical strength. But the storm has not ended. Deep sorrow prepares the ground for even more intimate questioning, and the man who once seemed invincible will now be challenged in the very core of his soul. As if the world hadn't been cruel enough, a terrible illness strikes Job, covering his body with sores and anguish. The man who once symbolized strength now feels every breath as a burden. Physical suffering mirrors the storm raging within his soul. Job sits among the ashes, his image marked by misfortune, facing the despair that gnaws from inside. Every movement is a silent battle, every thought a contained prayer. In extreme vulnerability, true human resilience is revealed. Even wounded, he does not let bitterness consume him entirely. His mind searches for meaning, a spark of hope that might illuminate the darkness around him. The lesson is clear. Faith strengthens when body and soul are tested together. And as the illness drains his strength, another challenge quietly approaches, one that will test not just his health, but his understanding of suffering and divine justice. At the height of his suffering, Job's friends arrive, not to comfort, but with words heavy with judgment. What was expected as solace becomes confrontation, and Job's heart feels even more isolated. They question his choices, hint at failings, and test his integrity, as if calamity were proof of guilt. Each word is an arrow, and the silence of heaven weighs upon them all. We learn that not every presence is genuine, and not every counsel is wise. Job responds with dignity, even amidst anger and pain. He faces not only loss, but the misunderstanding of others, showing that true faith does not depend on human approval. It is in this confrontation that the Spirit is revealed, steadfast amid the storm. Yet even when human loneliness deepens, a new enigma emerges, a silent conversation with the divine, where profound questions challenge the very essence of justice and existence. Alone in his affliction, Job lifts his eyes to the sky and asks, in silence and despair, why justice seems absent from the world. His words are not mere complaints. They are echoes of a soul seeking meaning. Each question forms a bridge between human pain and the divine. He reflects on the life he knew, the goodness he practiced, and the injustice surrounding him. The human heart, confronted with the inexplicable, reveals both courage and fragility. It is in this silent dialogue that faith becomes a living experience. Job does not receive immediate answers, yet his honesty with God strengthens something deeper than any earthly comfort. The lesson emerges. Spiritual courage is not the absence of doubt, but the bravery to face it with sincerity. And as his questions remain unanswered, the unseen world prepares an intervention that will challenge everything he thought he knew, making space for the unexpected. Suddenly, a wind, a roar, a presence beyond measure, and the voice of heaven speaks. Job realizes he is not alone, yet stands before a mystery greater than his understanding. Each word is thunder, each silence an echo that pierces the soul. The voice offers no easy answers. It challenges his perception of justice, creation, and the power that governs all. Job feels small, yet not diminished. His spirit bows in reverence before the unknown. Here we learn that the wisdom of the universe often reveals itself through humility. The encounter shows that life is vaster than suffering, that every storm carries unseen lessons, and that even the upright man does not control all threads of destiny. The divine response is not immediate comfort, but a call to contemplation and acceptance. And as Job absorbs this presence, the narrative opens toward the final transformation, a path of restoration, redemption, and the revelation of what true faith means. After the storm, the heavens open space for renewal. Job, marked by pain and experience, begins to see signs of hope emerging from the ashes. Each step is slow, yet filled with meaning. His life, once measured by prosperity, is now measured by the wisdom gained through trials. Old friends and strangers alike become companions in learning, and gratitude transforms into silent strength. Reconstruction is not only material, but spiritual. He realizes that true wealth is not in possessions, but in the resilience of a human heart. Every act of kindness, every word of forgiveness, every fully lived dawn becomes a triumph over the darkness that once surrounded him. And as Job walks this new stage, a renewed vision of life emerges. Every challenge is a teacher, every loss a lesson, and every experience an invitation to grow. After weathering the storm, Job is no longer the man who knew peace without question. His soul becomes as deep as the ocean, and his view of life broader than any horizon he once beheld. Every scar transforms into a living memory of his endurance. He understands that life is measured not only by what we receive, but by what we learn amid adversity. Suffering becomes a silent teacher, and faith, a thread connecting the human to the divine, capable of withstanding any storm. Job now observes the world with renewed eyes, recognizing that justice, love, and hope coexist even when unseen. True greatness reveals itself not in the absence of pain, but in the courage to remain upright within it. And as he quietly shares his experience with an open heart, the story invites us to reflect. How can we, in our own lives, transform trials into growth and darkness into light? Job finds peace again, not as a return to what he had before, but as the achievement of a new horizon. His life is renewed in intensity, and each dawn carries the taste of rediscovered hope. Fulfillment arises from experience, not abundance. His family, land, and possessions return, yet now imbued with deeper meaning. Every smile, every gesture, every memory carries the imprint of the storm he endured. He has learned that all that is taken from us can return transformed, just as we ourselves do. Job becomes a silent example of resilience and wisdom, showing that faith is not a shield against suffering, but an anchor that keeps us steady when everything around us collapses. Life emerging from the ashes is richer, more intense, and more complete. And as his story echoes through time, an invitation extends to all, to understand that adversity is part of the journey, and that even in pain, it is possible to find meaning, growth, and above all, hope. The story of Job is an eternal testament to human courage in the face of the impossible. Amid losses, pain, and questions, he shows us that true faith is not measured by the absence of suffering, but by the strength with which we move forward. Every trial faced is a lesson etched into the soul. Job teaches us that life is not a straight line of achievements and joys. It is a tapestry where shadows and light intertwine. Wisdom, patience, and hope are forged in the fire of adversity. And those who embrace this journey discover a richness no material wealth can offer. And so, each of us can look upon our own storms with new eyes. We can choose faith, resilience, and compassion, even when the world seems to crumble. Job's lessons transcend time, reminding us that nothing is in vain when the heart remains steadfast. If Job's story touched your heart and inspired reflection on courage and faith, don't keep this inspiration to yourself. Share this video, comment your experiences, follow the channel, and subscribe to discover more stories that transform and strengthen the soul. God bless your life.